Well, the city of Seattle is celebrating the 10th anniversary of minimum wage and wage theft ordinances.
These ordinances have benefited thousands of workers across the Emerald City. And joining us to continue the conversation is Steve Marchese, the director for the Office of Labor Standards. Steve, nice to have you with us here on ARC Seattle.
Thank you. Good morning on a great day.
Yes, it is. Very sunny day outside for sure. Let's first focus on the history of these ordinances, starting with minimum wage. Seattle became the first major city in the U.S. to enact a $15 minimum wage following the Fight for 15 movement. Give us some more background on that minimum wage project.
Sure. So, I think it's important to remember the context of what it was like here in Seattle and in the Puget Sound region at that time. There was a tech boom going on. The cost of living was increasing. In New York, there had been an effort by fast food workers to increase their pay, and workers at SeaTac who were working there without contracts, who were not unionized, were getting paid much less than the union workers. And so there was an effort to organize those workers, and those workers began to activate, talk to each other, talk to the community members, and that was the effort to start the SeaTac $15 an hour wage at the airport. A lot of support in the community, a lot of support from labor, worker advocates, community organizations, and it really put a lot of momentum behind the effort to bring that $15 an hour wage to Seattle. And $15 an hour was really perceived to be as sort of an opportunity to, that it was reasonable enough to increase. It was more than what workers were being paid. It reflected the increased cost of living. Housing was going up, the cost of living was going up in Seattle in the early 2010s. And this really was a chance to really make it possible for workers in Seattle to get paid a bare minimum, a minimum amount that we would set as a floor as a community, regardless of whether or not you were unionized, regardless of the kinds of work that you were doing. Now, there were, at the time when we started, two tiers of minimum wage, one for larger workers, and they moved to $15 an hour faster, and then one for smaller employers. And that wage was somewhat lower and included a credit for any tips or health insurance premiums. And over the last 10 years, that is now gone. As of this year, we now have one minimum wage for the city.
Definitely a monumental moment in time for workers and for the city. So let's jump to today. Where are we with the minimum wage now, and what impact has this made since its implementation?
Sure. So we are now at one minimum wage for all workers in the city of Seattle, regardless of what size of your employer. It's $20.76. And that is really, I think, has been an opportunity. This whole movement towards setting a standard, setting a floor, really means that we have been able to, one, sort of put a guarantee for workers that you will be getting something, hopefully, that will enable you to make a wage that will allow you to pay for more of your expenses, your housing, your childcare, your food, clothing, all the basics. We have to remember that this is not a luxury wage. This is a minimum wage. It's still difficult to make a living in the city on that wage, but it is much better than if it was lower. And it does mean that, for workers who are not in places where they're, represented by a union, where they don't have the board bargaining power to negotiate a contract, that they will have this wage regardless. I think, workers have talked about how this has provided them some stability, how it's provided them the opportunity to have a little bit of a cushion. It is still, like I said, an expensive place to live. But the other part of this is that the city of Seattle, as the largest economic driver in the region, as a single location, really has also made it possible for workers in other parts of the state and the region to benefit from a higher minimum wage. We've seen the state increase the minimum wage after Seattle. We've seen other jurisdictions in the region, not only SeaTac, obviously beforehand, but Tukwila, Burien, Everett most recently, King County, unincorporated King County. So, there has been a pressure on the east side as well to really level up the minimum wage, which I think has a real benefit for workers across the whole Puget Sound region.
Steve, another ordinance impacting workers is the wage theft ordinance. Give us some background on that ordinance and the protections in place there.
Sure. So the wage theft ordinance came into being at the same time as the minimum wage ordinance in 2015, so 10 years ago. And wage theft really is when someone is working and does not get paid all of the money that they are owed under the law for the work that they are doing. They aren't paid in a timely fashion. They aren't paid all of the time that they've been able that they've been working. They haven't been paid for all of their expenses. And this is a pervasive problem. It is a problem in many sectors where workers, for example, are entitled to overtime, or workers are entitled to a meal break or a rest break. And if they don't receive that and they don't get compensated for that fact, then that is wage theft. If a worker is not given a pay stub or a pay statement at least once a month and able to see what their wages are, there is the potential for that to be wage theft. And so it is probably of the ordinances that our department enforces one of the largest in terms of the number of complaints that we've had, and one of the most significant in terms of the amount of money we've recouped. Since it's been in existence, we've recouped over $11 million for workers in the Seattle area, who work in Seattle, for wage theft, and it is one of the most important, I think, for workers to see.
Steve, obviously it's encouraging to see wages go up for employees of these businesses, but have there been challenges with this? Have there been, I think about a small business who maybe is having to pay their workers even more because of these ordinances, that, maybe they're having to make some difficult financial decisions. What's been the challenge with this, if any?
I think it's important to remember that there are many costs that go into running a business in the city of Seattle, and those costs, while they do include the cost of labor, they also include rent, insurance, the cost of raw materials, all the different issues that business owners face are significant and real. And so I think we have to look at it first in the context of all of the costs that business owners face. The minimum wage stepped up over a course of a period of 10 years. So it was not an immediate change to $15 an hour. It was not an immediate change to the $20 we have now. It has taken a course of years, for example, for the wage for employers who have 500 or under 500 employees to match now the wage of the larger employers. It has taken 10 years for the tip credit to go away and for us all to have one minimum wage. So hopefully that has provided some businesses, most businesses, I would hope, time to plan, time to think about how to incorporate this into their businesses. We know that there are concerns in certain sectors about the impact of, for example, not having tips included, that certainly has taken away some of the opportunity for those businesses to not have to pay that amount. But what we're hearing from some workers is that they're actually getting paid a certain amount of money, and they know what that money is. Businesses are changing some of their practices in alignment with the fact that there is no tip credit. I think what we need to think about is how to support businesses throughout the city and not necessarily look just at the cost of employment, because these are the folks who are making the business possible. Most business owners, who value their employees, know how important it is to give them fair compensation, and that really is at the heart of what the minimum wage law is about.
Great insight and context from you, Steve. 10 years later, thank you so much for joining us on ARC Seattle today.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. I'm glad we had this conversation.
Same here.